Hello there, and welcome to the Deep Sleep Discoveries channel. Tonight we're drifting into the quiet, curious world of cats through 100 gentle facts. These soft-footed companions have shared our homes and our nights for thousands of years, yet they still move through our lives with an air of mystery. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. But for now, there's nothing you need to do but relax. Let your breathing soften, let your eyes grow heavy, and allow the day to fade away. Let's begin. A cat's ears are tiny masterpieces of precision engineering. Each ear contains 32 individual muscles, working together like a small orchestra. That is more than 5 times the number humans have for the same purpose. These muscles allow a cat to rotate each ear independently, swiveling up to 180 degrees, mapping sound in ways we can barely imagine. When a cat sits quietly, those ears may be the only movement you notice, twitching and turning like radar dishes, sampling every corner of the room. A rustle in one direction, a footstep in another, and the ears respond separately, tracking multiple sounds at once without the head ever moving. This remarkable control helps cats locate prey with astonishing accuracy, even in complete darkness. Just like the whorls and ridges on your fingertips, the surface of a cat's nose carries a pattern that belongs to that cat alone. No two are exactly alike. The texture of bumps, lines, and tiny ridges forms a signature as individual as a name. If you look closely at a cat's nose, you will see a landscape of small details, slightly moist, uniquely arranged. This pattern stays consistent throughout the cat's life, a permanent identifier hidden in plain sight. While we do not use nose prints the way we use fingerprints, the uniqueness remains. It is one of those small biological facts that reminds us how distinct each creature truly is, even when they look similar from a distance. Imagine being able to listen behind you without turning your head. Cats live this way every day. Their ears can pivot a full 180 degrees, sweeping from front to back in a smooth arc. This rotation happens independently, so one ear can face forward while the other turns backward, creating a kind of acoustic surveillance that covers nearly every direction at once. The movement is controlled by those 32 muscles in each ear, working in precise coordination. When a cat is resting, you might see the ears slowly scanning, adjusting to follow sounds you cannot even hear. A bird outside, a door closing in another room, a footstep on the stairs, all tracked without effort, without urgency, just quiet awareness keeping the cat connected to everything happening around it. Whiskers are not random decorations. They grow in a pattern designed to help a cat measure the world. In most cats, whiskers extend outward to approximately the width of the body, creating a sensory boundary that helps the cat judge whether a space is passable. When a cat approaches a narrow gap, those whiskers brush the edges first, sending information back before the body commits. It is like having built-in measuring tape. However, this system works best when a cat maintains a healthy weight. An overweight cat may find its body has grown wider than its whiskers can accurately measure, which can lead to misjudgments and tight squeezes. The whiskers themselves do not grow longer to match weight gain. They reflect the body's original blueprint, not its current shape. Hidden in the inner corner of a cat's eye is a thin, translucent membrane that most people never notice. This third eyelid, called the nictitating membrane, slides horizontally across the eye to protect it from dust, debris, and injury while still allowing some vision. It also helps distribute tears evenly, keeping the eye moist and healthy. You might catch a glimpse of it when a cat is very relaxed, half asleep, or just waking. In those moments, it can appear as a pale film, quickly retreating once the cat is fully alert. In a healthy cat, it stays tucked away, doing its work silently, but its presence is a quiet reminder of how carefully designed a cat's body is, with backup systems layered beneath the surface, ready when needed. Inside a resting cat, the heart works at a rhythm that would alarm a doctor if it were human. Between 110 and 140 beats per minute is normal for a cat, even when it is lying peacefully in a sunny spot. This faster pace supports a body built for sudden bursts of action rather than steady endurance. When a cat needs to leap, twist, or sprint, oxygen and nutrients must be delivered instantly, and the heart is already primed for that demand. If you rest your hand gently on a cat's chest, you can feel it. a quick, steady flutter beneath the ribs like a small engine idling. During play or stress, that rhythm can climb even higher, powering the explosive movements cats are known for. At rest, it slows but never stops being ready. A cat's tongue is covered in only about 470 taste buds, a fraction of the 9,000 that humans possess. This means the world of flavor is fundamentally different for a cat. They are not tasting food the way we do. Instead, they rely heavily on scent to evaluate what they eat. The nose does most of the work, while the tongue confirms texture and temperature. This limited tasting ability makes sense when you consider that cats are obligate carnivores, built to eat meat almost exclusively. They do not need to distinguish between a wide variety of flavors because their diet in nature is narrow and specific. A cat is not choosing food based on complex taste. It is choosing based on smell, freshness, and instinct, shaped by thousands of years of hunting. If you offered a cat a piece of candy, it would not experience sweetness the way you do. Cats carry a mutation in a gene responsible for detecting sweet tastes, which means that receptor simply does not function. The sugar on their tongue registers as nothing. This absence fits perfectly with their role as carnivores. In the wild, cats do not encounter sweet foods. They do not eat fruit or nectar. Their survival depends on animal prey, rich in protein and fat, and their senses evolved to prioritize those qualities. So while a cat might show curiosity about a sugary treat, it is the texture, the smell, or the novelty drawing them in, not the flavor. Their biology has quietly removed sweetness from the menu, making room for the tastes that matter most to a hunter. In dim twilight, when human vision begins to falter, a cat's world remains clear. Cats can see in light levels 6 times lower than what we require, turning near darkness into something navigable. This ability comes from a combination of features working together. Their pupils can open extremely wide, letting in as much light as possible. Behind the retina sits a reflective layer called the tapetum lucidum, which bounces light back through the photoreceptors, giving them a second chance to capture it. The result is vision that thrives at dawn and dusk, the hours when prey is most active. A cat moving through a shadowy hallway is not stumbling or guessing. It is reading the space with confidence, seeing details we would miss entirely, navigating a world that to us would feel uncomfortably dark. When light hits a cat's eyes in the dark, they glow. That eerie shine, green, gold, or icy blue, comes from a structure called the tapetum lucidum. This reflective layer sits behind the retina and acts like a mirror, bouncing light back through the eye's photoreceptors. Essentially, the eye gets 2 passes at the same light, doubling the chance of capturing useful information. This is what gives cats their extraordinary night vision. The glow itself is just the light reflecting back out toward you, proof that the system is working. The tapetum lucidum is common in nocturnal and crepuscular animals, creatures that need to make the most of limited light. For a cat, it transforms twilight into a readable landscape, full of movement and detail that would be invisible to us. A cat's collarbone does not connect rigidly to the rest of the skeleton the way yours does. Instead, it floats, attached only by muscle and ligament. This unique arrangement gives the shoulders extraordinary freedom of movement. The front legs can rotate and compress in ways that would be impossible with a fixed collarbone, allowing cats to squeeze through narrow openings, twist in mid-air, and absorb the impact of jumps with fluid grace. When a cat lands, the shoulders act almost like suspension, smoothing out the force. When it climbs, those flexible joints allow reach and adjustment that seem effortless. This floating collarbone is a key part of what makes a cat so liquid in motion, able to fold and flow through spaces that look far too small from the outside. A cat's backbone is a marvel of articulation. It contains 53 individual vertebrae compared to the 34 in a human spine. Those extra bones, combined with elastic cushioning discs between them, give the spine remarkable flexibility. A cat can arch its back into a steep curve, twist its body mid-leap, or curl into a tight ball with ease. This flexibility is essential for the sudden directional changes cats make during hunting or play. The spine acts like a coiled spring, storing and releasing energy with precision. Watch a cat stretch after a nap, and you will see the spine extend and compress, each vertebra moving independently, the whole structure rippling like a wave. It is engineering designed for agility, not rigidity, built for a life of quick decisions and faster movements. When a cat walks, it does not place its whole foot on the ground the way humans do. Instead, it walks on its toes, a style of movement called digitigrade locomotion. The bones we think of as the foot are actually elevated, forming part of the leg, while only the toes make contact with the surface. This design gives cats several advantages. It makes them quieter, with less surface area hitting the ground. It adds length to their stride without increasing leg length. And it creates a kind of spring-loaded step, storing energy in the tendons and releasing it with each motion. The result is that smooth, silent glide cats are known for a walk that feels more like floating. Even a large cat can cross a room without making a sound, moving on tiptoe through the world. One of the most elegant features of a cat is the ability to hide its weapons. Most cats can retract their claws completely, pulling them into protective sheaths when not in use. This keeps the claws sharp as they do not wear down from constant contact with the ground, and it allows for silent movement. The claws extend only when needed for climbing, gripping, or defense. However, not all cats share this feature fully. Cheetahs have claws that do not retract entirely, which helps with traction during high-speed chases. A few other species, like the fishing cat, flat-headed cat, and eriomote cat, also have semi-retractable claws that extend partially even at rest. For most cats, though, the claws remain hidden, sharp, and ready, waiting quietly inside each toe. A cat moves through the world, leaving invisible messages. Scent glands located on the cheeks, paws, and flanks release pheromones, chemical signals that carry meaning to other cats. When a cat rubs its face against your leg or the corner of furniture, it is not just showing affection, it is marking that object as familiar, weaving its scent into the environment. The same happens when a cat kneads with its paws or brushes its side along a doorway. These subtle markings create a scent map that tells the cat and any other cats nearby that this space is known and safe. To us, the room looks unchanged. To a cat, it has been quietly claimed, layered with reassurance, a language written in molecules we cannot detect but that shapes how a cat feels at home. Tucked into the roof of a cat's mouth is a small but powerful sensory organ called the Jacobson's organ, or vomeronasal organ. This structure allows cats to analyze chemical signals in a way that goes beyond ordinary smell. When a cat encounters a particularly interesting scent, it may open its mouth slightly and curl back its lips in an expression called the flamen response. This strange face is not disgust, it is focus. The cat is drawing air and scent molecules toward the Jacobson's organ where they can be processed more deeply. This system is especially attuned to pheromones, the social and reproductive signals other animals leave behind. It is almost like tasting the air, pulling hidden information from it, and reading a story that smell alone cannot fully tell. The world is full of sounds you will never hear. Cats, however, can detect frequencies up to 64,000 Hz, more than 3 times the upper limit of human hearing, which tops out around 20,000 Hz. This extraordinary range allows cats to hear the high-pitched squeaks and ultrasonic calls that rodents use to communicate. In nature, this is a hunting advantage. A mouse may think it is moving silently, but to a cat, every tiny vocalization is clear and localized. Even in a quiet room, a cat may suddenly become alert, ears swiveling toward a sound that does not exist for you. It might be the faint hum of electronics, the scratch of something small behind a wall, or a pitch simply outside your biological reach. To a cat, silence is rarely truly silent. If you have ever been licked by a cat, you know the feeling. That rough sandpaper texture comes from hundreds of tiny backward-facing hooks called papillae, covering the surface of the tongue. These are not just bumps. They are curved, rigid structures made of keratin, the same material as claws. When a cat grooms, the papillae act like a fine-toothed comb, catching loose fur, debris, and tangles, and pulling them away from the skin. The tongue reaches deep into the coat, distributing natural oils and stimulating blood flow. It is grooming and maintenance in one elegant tool. The downside is that all that loose fur gets swallowed, which is why hairballs are a common part of life with cats. But the system works. The tongue is a built-in brush, cleaning the body with every stroke. Despite being smaller than most humans, cats have more bones. A typical cat skeleton contains around 230 bones, compared to 206 in an adult human. The difference comes largely from the tail and the spine. A cat's tail alone holds between 19 and 23 vertebrae, depending on the individual and breed. The spine, as mentioned before, contains 53 vertebrae, far more than ours. These extra bones do not make the cat rigid. They do the opposite. More bones mean more joints, and more joints mean more flexibility. The skeleton becomes a chain of articulated segments, each one capable of slight movement, and together they create that fluid, almost liquid quality cats are known for. It is a framework built for bending, twisting, and adapting to the moment. The image of a cat lapping milk from a saucer is deeply ingrained in culture, but it is not based on biology. Most adult cats are lactose intolerant. As kittens, they produce an enzyme called lactase, which breaks down the lactose in their mother's milk. But once they are weaned, production of that enzyme drops significantly. Without it, consuming milk or dairy products can lead to digestive upset, including diarrhea, bloating, and discomfort. The myth persists because cats often enjoy the taste of milk and will drink it eagerly, but enjoyment does not mean digestion. A cat drinking milk may seem happy in the moment, only to feel the consequences later. Water is the safest and most appropriate drink for an adult cat, simple and sufficient for a body that no longer needs milk. When a cat looks at you and slowly closes its eyes, holding them shut for a moment before reopening them, it is offering something special. This slow blink is a gesture of trust. In cat language, an unbroken stare can signal tension or challenge, but relaxed eyelids communicate safety. By closing its eyes in your presence, the cat is saying it does not feel threatened. It is a vulnerable position, trusting you enough to let its guard down. Many people discover that if they return the gesture, slowly closing their own eyes and opening them softly, the cat will blink back or even approach closer. It becomes a quiet conversation, wordless and gentle, built on mutual respect. In a world where so much communication is loud, the slow blink is a reminder that trust can be expressed in stillness. When a cat rubs its head, cheeks, or body against furniture, doorways, or your legs, it is doing more than seeking affection. It is marking. Scent glands in those areas release pheromones that claim the object as part of the cat's safe, familiar environment. This behavior is called bunting, and it serves to create a scent map throughout the home. Each time a cat passes a favorite spot, it reinforces that mark, layering its signature into the space. In multi-cat homes, cats may rub on the same objects, blending their scents and creating a shared group odor that reduces tension. To us, the room looks and smells the same. To a cat, it has been quietly written on, turned into a place that feels known, predictable, and safe. Kneading is one of the most endearing behaviors cats display. The paws press and release in a rhythmic motion, often on soft surfaces like blankets, cushions, or your lap. This behavior begins in kittenhood. When nursing, kittens press their paws against their mother's belly to stimulate milk flow. That early motion becomes deeply associated with warmth, food, and safety. As adults, many cats continue to knead during moments of deep contentment, as if the body remembers that original comfort. The claws may extend slightly, not from aggression, but because the movement is instinctive and automatic. Some cats even purr while kneading, eyes half closed, lost in a memory their body still holds. It is one of those behaviors that feels intimate because it comes from a time when the world was small, warm, and entirely safe. A cat's purr is not just soothing to hear. It may actually promote healing, both for the cat and for those nearby. Cats purr at frequencies between 25 and 150 Hz, a range that research suggests can stimulate bone density, reduce pain, and promote tissue repair. The vibrations travel through the body, and some scientists believe this may be why cats purr not only when content, but also when injured or stressed. It could be a form of self-soothing that carries physical benefits. For humans, the act of holding a purring cat has been shown to lower blood pressure and reduce stress. The purr becomes a kind of gentle therapy, a low rumble that settles the nervous system and reminds the body to relax, vibrating quietly through skin and bone. Sometimes a cat will sniff something and then pause with its mouth slightly open, lips curled back in an expression that looks almost comical. This is called the phlegm response, and it is a serious sensory action. By holding the mouth open, the cat is drawing scent molecules toward the Jacobson's organ in the roof of the mouth, allowing for deeper chemical analysis. This response is most common when a cat encounters pheromones, especially those left by other animals. It might happen after sniffing another cat's marking, a visitor's bag, or even a spot on the ground outside. The face is not disgust or confusion, it is concentration. The cat is pulling a hidden layer of information from the air, reading identity, mood, and history in molecules invisible to us, decoding messages we will never fully understand. A cat's tail is a living barometer of mood. When held high and relaxed, it signals confidence and friendliness. A tail puffed up like a bottle brush means fear or aggression, an attempt to look larger and more intimidating. A low or tucked tail suggests uncertainty or submission. Slow sweeping movements can indicate focus or mild irritation, while fast. Whipping motions are a clear warning that patience is running thin. Even the tip of the tail tells a story. A slight twitch can mean curiosity, while rapid flicking signals agitation. Cats use their tails to communicate across distances, sending signals before words or sounds or even proximity become necessary. Learning to read the tail transforms your relationship with a cat. You begin to see emotion in real time, honest and immediate, written in motion. If you have ever seen a cat at a window watching birds, you may have heard a strange sound, a rapid chattering or chirping that seems to spill out involuntarily. The body tenses, the tail twitches, and the jaw moves quickly, producing that odd staccato rhythm. Behaviorists are not entirely certain why cats do this. Some believe it is excitement, the body rehearsing the rapid bite that would be used to kill prey. Others think it is frustration, the cat so focused on the hunt but unable to reach the target. It might even be both, a mix of anticipation and longing compressed into sound. Whatever the reason, it is a moment when the predator is fully visible, a glimpse of wild instinct surfacing in a domestic setting, brief and strange and utterly captivating. Adult cats do not meow much to each other. Their communication with other cats relies more on body language, scent, and subtle vocalizations like hisses or growls. But with humans, cats have developed a special vocal repertoire. Meowing becomes a tool, one that many cats refine over time based on what gets results. A short, bright meow might bring attention. A long, drawn-out sound might signal hunger. Some cats develop such specific vocalizations that their owners can distinguish between different requests. This adaptation suggests intelligence and flexibility. The cat has learned that humans respond to sound more than scent or posture, so it adjusts its strategy. Meowing at us is almost a learned language, shaped by feedback and familiarity, invented specifically for cross-species communication. When a cat gently bumps its head against you, it is called bunting, and it is one of the clearest signs of affection a cat can offer. Scent glands located on the forehead and around the face release pheromones during this contact, marking you as part of the cat's safe social circle. At the same time, the cat picks up your scent, creating a blended signature that reinforces the bond. Bunting can also happen between cats that trust each other deeply, a greeting ritual that says more than words. With humans, it often arrives as a quiet surprise, a small solid tap that feels personal and deliberate. It is the cat choosing closeness, choosing contact, and choosing to weave you into its scent map. In that simple gesture, you become part of the cat's world. Grooming is not vanity for a cat. It is maintenance, self-care, and even emotional regulation all rolled into one. Cats can spend anywhere from 30 to 50% of their waking hours grooming, using their tongue and paws to keep the coat clean, distribute oils, and remove loose fur and debris. Grooming also helps regulate body temperature. As saliva evaporates from the fur, it provides a cooling effect, especially important since cats do not sweat the way humans do. Beyond the physical, grooming has a psychological component. Many cats lick themselves after a stressful event, using the repetitive motion to calm down and regain composure. It is a ritual that keeps the body ready and the mind settled, a quiet act of self-preservation repeated throughout the day. Watch a cat after a tense moment, perhaps after a sudden noise, a failed jump, or a conflict with another animal. Often, the cat will sit down and begin grooming, licking its fur in slow, deliberate strokes. This is not about cleanliness. It is about calming. The repetitive motion of grooming activates a self-soothing response, lowering the cat's stress levels and helping it regain emotional balance. The act is almost meditative, bringing the cat back to a state of control. It is similar to how humans might take deep breaths or fidget when anxious. The body is given something familiar and rhythmic to do, and that rhythm settles the nervous system. When grooming becomes excessive or obsessive, it can signal chronic stress, but in moderation, it is one of the cat's most effective tools for self-regulation. Cats are creatures of habit. Predictability makes the world feel safe. When routines are consistent, feeding at the same time, playing at the same hour, sleeping in the same spots, a cat can relax because it knows what to expect. Change, on the other hand, triggers vigilance. A moved piece of furniture, a new scent, a different person in the house, these disruptions can put a cat on alert. The response is not stubbornness, it is caution. In nature, change can signal danger, and animals that notice and respond to change survive longer. The good news is that with gentle consistency, most cats adapt. Slowly reintroducing familiar rhythms helps rebuild that sense of safety. Routine is not boredom to a cat. It is the framework that allows them to feel secure enough to rest, play, and trust. One moment, the house is calm. The next, your cat is tearing through the hallway at full speed, skidding around corners, ricocheting off furniture, eyes wide and wild. These sudden bursts of energy, often called zoomies, are completely normal. They happen most often in younger cats but can occur at any age. Zoomies usually follow long periods of rest or occur during the evening hours when a cat's natural activity levels rise. The behavior serves as an outlet for pent-up energy, a way to burn off the restlessness that builds during the day. Sometimes it happens after using the litter box, a moment of post-bathroom euphoria. The sprint is brief but intense, and once it is over, the cat often settles more easily, as if the engine needed to rev before it could idle again. Finding a dead mouse, bird, or lizard on your doorstep can be unsettling, but the cat's intention is rarely malicious. In cat social structures, sharing food strengthens bonds. A mother cat brings prey to her kittens to teach them how to hunt, first bringing dead prey, then injured prey, and finally live prey to practice on. With humans, the behavior may transfer imperfectly. The cat sees you as part of its social group and may be offering a gift, sharing resources, or even trying to teach you, its less capable companion, how to hunt. The logic is feline, not human. While managing the behavior may be necessary for hygiene and safety, understanding the motivation can reframe the moment. The cat is not being cruel. It is being generous in the only way it knows how. When a cat scratches a surface, it is accomplishing more than claw maintenance. Each scratch leaves visible marks, a signal to other animals that this territory is claimed. At the same time, scent glands in the paws deposit pheromones onto the scratched object, adding an invisible chemical layer to the message. Together, these cues create a landmark, a spot the cat can return to and recognize as familiar. Scratching often happens near doorways, sleeping areas, or high traffic zones, places where marking matters most. It also provides a physical stretch, engaging the muscles of the shoulders, back, and legs. The act is satisfying on multiple levels: emotional, physical, and social. When a cat scratches, it is not being destructive. It is anchoring itself in the environment, writing familiarity into the space in a language made of texture and scent. In the wild, showing weakness can be dangerous. Predators and rivals notice vulnerability quickly. So cats evolved to mask discomfort, pain, and illness, maintaining a calm exterior even when something is wrong. This instinct carries into domestic life, which means signs of sickness are often subtle. A cat may rest more, move less, or choose quieter locations without making a sound. Appetite changes can be gradual. Grooming may slow or become uneven. These shifts are easy to overlook if you expect dramatic signals. The challenge for cat owners is learning to notice the small changes, the slight differences in routine that suggest something is off. Early attention can make a real difference because by the time a cat shows obvious distress, the issue may already be advanced. Silencing cats can be strength, but it can also be a quiet request for help. Whiskers are not passive. They shift with emotion, offering a clear window into how a cat feels in the moment. When curiosity or excitement rises, whiskers often angle forward, extending the cat's sensory reach. This happens during play, exploration, or when something captures the cat's full attention. When a cat feels threatened, overwhelmed, or stressed, the whiskers tend to pull back, flattening closer to the face to reduce exposure and vulnerability. These changes can happen quickly and often appear before other signals like movement or vocalization. Watching whiskers alongside ears, tail, and posture gives you a fuller picture of the cat's emotional state. A cat with forward whiskers and an upright tail is likely curious and open. A cat with flattened whiskers and a low body is likely feeling defensive or uncertain. The whiskers are honest, revealing mood in real time. Recognition does not always look like obedience. Research shows that cats can distinguish their owner's voice from the voices of strangers, even when they do not respond. You can sometimes see it in subtle signs: a flick of the ear, a pause in movement, or a brief lift of the head before the cat settles again and continues what it was doing. The sound itself carries familiarity, rhythm, and emotional tone. Cats learn which voices predict comfort, food, play, or disruption, and they choose how to respond based on context and mood. Ignoring a call is often a decision, not confusion. This is why a cat may come running when one person calls and remain completely still when another uses the same word. The meaning lives in the voice, not the command. When you speak, your cat is listening, sorting, and deciding. Silence afterward does not mean the message was missed. There is a particular kind of greeting that feels unmistakably joyful. A cat approaches with its tail held high, and then the tail begins to quiver, a rapid trembling from base to tip. This quiver often appears when a cat is genuinely delighted to see someone, especially a trusted person returning home after time away. It can also show up at meal times or when a favorite routine is about to begin. The movement is different from a thrashing tail. It is bright, contained excitement, like happiness bubbling up without spilling over. Some cats pair it with a soft trill, a quick rub against a leg, or direct eye contact. In multi-cat homes, bonded cats may display this greeting to each other as well. It is one of those signals that feels pure because it carries no demand, just simple recognition that something good is happening. While cats are often described as solitary, many form deep, lasting bonds with other cats. These relationships develop through shared space, predictable routines, and mutual respect for boundaries. Bonded cats may groom each other, sleep close, or move through the home as a quiet pair. Their communication is subtle, built on trust rather than constant interaction. Even cats that are not tightly bonded can coexist peacefully, maintaining a stable social structure over time. Introducing new cats carefully is important because these bonds grow slowly and cannot be forced. When they do form, they provide comfort, stimulation, and companionship that humans alone cannot always replicate. Watching bonded cats interact reveals a softer side of feline life, one built on mutual tolerance and quiet loyalty. These relationships remind us that cats are not only connected to people, they are capable of rich, complex social worlds of their own. Sleep is a significant part of a cat's day. On average, cats sleep between 12 and 16 hours in a 24-hour period, though some sleep even more, especially kittens and senior cats. This extended rest makes sense when you consider their evolutionary role. Cats are designed for short, intense bursts of hunting activity, not endurance. Between those bursts, the body needs time to recover and conserve energy. Sleep provides that recovery. The long hours also reflect the fact that cats are crepuscular, most active at dawn and dusk. During the middle of the day and the middle of the night, sleep takes over. For a cat, rest is not laziness. It is biological necessity, a way to stay primed for the moments when action is needed, storing energy quietly until the right time arrives. When a cat appears to be sleeping, it is often in a state of light rest rather than deep unconsciousness. The body is relaxed, but the mind remains somewhat alert. You can see it in the small signs: An ear swivels toward a sound, whiskers shift slightly, eyes crack open for a moment, then close again. This pattern makes sense for an animal that must balance rest with vigilance. Deep sleep leaves an animal vulnerable, so cats have adapted to spend much of their rest in a lighter phase where they can wake quickly if something changes. This ability to recharge while staying partially aware is one reason cats seem to appear instantly when you open a cupboard or step into a room. They were not fully asleep. They were resting with one paw in awareness, ready to respond. Despite spending much of their sleep in lighter phases, cats do enter REM sleep, the stage associated with dreaming. During REM, the brain becomes highly active even as the body stays mostly still. This is when you might see a cat's paws twitch as if running, whiskers tremble, ears flick, or the tail move slightly. The jaw might make tiny chewing motions. These movements suggest the cat is processing experiences, perhaps replaying a hunt, a climb, or a moment from earlier in the day. Kittens often show these signs more dramatically, which fits with how much their brains are learning and organizing. Adults dream too, just sometimes more subtly. Watching a cat in REM sleep can feel like witnessing a private story, a narrative only the cat can see, unfolding quietly behind closed eyes. Those small movements during sleep, the paw flexes, the whisker trembles, the tail flicks, are more than random. They are signs that the brain is active, likely engaged in dreaming. During REM sleep, the body is mostly paralyzed to prevent acting out dreams, but small muscles can still twitch and shift. For cats, this might mean reliving a chase, practicing a pounce, or processing the sensory experiences of the day. The twitching is not distress. It is the brain at work, sorting memories, refining motor patterns, and organizing information. In kittens, this process is especially important as they learn coordination and social skills. Even in adult cats, dream activity plays a role in maintaining sharp reflexes and mental health. Sleep is not just rest, it is rehearsal, a time when the mind continues to hunt, climb, and explore. Cats are not truly nocturnal, though it can feel that way when they wake you at 3 in the morning. They are crepuscular, meaning they are most active during the twilight hours of dawn and dusk. This activity pattern aligns with the behavior of their natural prey, small rodents and birds that are also active during these low-light times. In the wild, hunting at twilight offers advantages. There is enough light to see, but shadows provide cover. For domestic cats, this instinct persists. You may notice increased energy in the early morning or evening, restlessness, playfulness, or vocalizing. Understanding this natural rhythm can help shape routines. Feeding and play sessions timed to match these active periods can satisfy instincts and lead to calmer behavior at night. The cat is not being difficult, it is simply following an ancient clock. The relationship between humans and cats began around 10,000 years ago in a region called the Fertile Crescent, an arc of land in the Middle East where agriculture first took root. As humans began storing harvested grain, rodents arrived in large numbers, drawn by the abundance of food. Wild cats, in turn, were drawn to the rodents. The cats that were bold enough to linger near human settlements found easy hunting and safer conditions. Over generations, these cats became more tolerant of human presence, and humans recognized their value. It was not a sudden domestication like wolves into dogs. It was a slow, mutual arrangement. The cats that stayed close thrived, and humans benefited from natural pest control. The partnership grew quietly, shaped by practical advantage on both sides. In ancient Egypt, cats held a place of profound reverence. They were associated with the goddess Bastet, a deity linked to protection, home, and fertility. Cats protected grain stores from pests, and that practical value evolved into cultural and religious significance. Families kept cats not only as working animals but as cherished members of the household. When a cat died, it was often mourned deeply. Some were mummified with the same care given to humans, wrapped and prepared for the afterlife. Archaeological excavations have uncovered entire cat cemeteries, evidence of how seriously this relationship was taken. Artwork from the period shows cats in domestic scenes, seated beside people, treated with affection and respect. This is one of the earliest large-scale examples of a society building laws, rituals, and meaning around an animal companion. The protection of cats in ancient Egypt was not merely cultural, it was legal. Harming or killing a cat, even accidentally, could bring severe punishment, reportedly including the death penalty in some cases. This reflects how deeply cats were woven into Egyptian society, not just as animals, but as sacred beings under the protection of law and religion. The Greek historian Herodotus wrote of Egyptians risking their lives to save cats from burning buildings and mourning them with shaved eyebrows when they died. Whether every detail of these accounts is historically precise is debated, but the broad truth remains clear. Cats in ancient Egypt were valued, defended, and honored in ways that few other animals have been throughout history. Their safety was a matter of public importance. In medieval Europe, the relationship between humans and cats took a darker turn. Cats, especially black cats, became associated with witchcraft, magic, and bad omens. Superstition spread that witches could transform into cats or used them as familiars, animal companions with supernatural powers. This belief led to widespread persecution of cats, particularly during the height of witch trials. Cats were killed in large numbers, sometimes ritually, sometimes out of fear. Ironically, this reduction in cat populations may have allowed rodent populations to surge, contributing to the spread of plague carried by rats and fleas. Over time, as superstition faded and practicality returned, cats were welcomed back. Their value as pest controllers was eventually remembered, and the relationship slowly repaired. It is a striking reminder of how quickly cultural attitudes can shift for better or worse. In shopfronts, restaurants, and homes across Japan, you may see a small cat figure with one paw raised in a welcoming gesture. This is the maneki neko, the beckoning cat, a symbol of good fortune, hospitality, and prosperity. The raised paw is an invitation calling in customers, guests, and luck. Different colors and details carry different meanings. A white cat invites purity and happiness. A gold cat attracts wealth. The paw position even matters. Left paw raised is said to attract customers. Right paw brings money and good fortune. Origin stories vary, but many involve a cat whose gesture saved someone's life or brought unexpected good fortune. The symbol endures because it connects cats with daily life and optimism. The simple raised paw becomes a quiet promise that good things are welcome here. For centuries, cats were valued crew members aboard ships. Their primary role was pest control. Grain, dried goods, and supplies stored in the hold attracted rats, and rats threatened food supplies and spread disease. A good ship's cat could keep rodent populations in check, protecting cargo and crew health. But cats also held symbolic value. Many sailors believed that having a cat on board brought good luck and safe passage. Cats were thought to sense storms before they arrived, giving crews early warning. Some even believed that a cat falling overboard would bring bad weather. Ship cats lived alongside sailors, often becoming beloved fixtures, remembered in logs and stories. As ships traveled the world, cats traveled too, stepping onto unfamiliar docks and spreading the domestic cat population across continents through centuries of maritime trade. One of the most famous ship cats is the wartime legend known as Unsinkable Sam. According to the story, this cat survived the sinking of 3 different warships during World War II. First aboard the German battleship Bismarck, then rescued by the British and aboard HMS Cossack when it was torpedoed, and finally aboard HMS Ark Royal, which also sank. Each time, the cat was found alive among the wreckage and survivors. Whether every detail is historically verified is uncertain, and some elements may be embellished over time. But the story endures because it captures something people recognize in cats: resilience, adaptability, and an almost uncanny ability to survive against the odds. True or not, Unsinkable Sam became a symbol of persistence, and sailors who lived with constant danger found meaning in the survival of a small creature who kept going. In 1871, something new happened in London. Cats were put on display, judged, and celebrated publicly at the Crystal Palace. This event, organised by Harrison Weir, is widely considered the first major cat show. Visitors came to see different breeds, colours, and types, all presented side by side with descriptions and standards. The show helped shift public perception of cats from purely practical animals to creatures worth admiring for their beauty and variety. It also laid the groundwork for modern cat breeding and the concept of pedigree. Standards were written, breeds were defined, cats entered the world of competitive exhibition, much like dogs and birds already had. The show was not just entertainment, It was a cultural turning point that elevated cats into a new kind of visibility and respect. Cats did not stay in one place. As human trade expanded, cats traveled with it, carried aboard ships and caravans along ancient trade routes. From the Middle East, they spread into Europe, Asia, and Africa. Merchants, sailors, and settlers brought cats to new lands, where they adapted to local environments and interbred with local populations. Each port, each new settlement, became a point of dispersal. Over centuries, this movement created the genetic diversity seen in domestic cats today. Cats evolved regionally, developing traits suited to climate, prey, and human culture. Some became desert specialists, others adapted to cold northern environments. The global spread of cats is a map of human movement written in fur and whiskers, a living record of where we went and what we carried with us. The symbolism of black cats shifts dramatically depending on where you are. In some cultures, a black cat crossing your path is considered bad luck, a superstition rooted in medieval European fears about witchcraft. In others, black cats are symbols of good fortune. In Japan and parts of the United Kingdom, black cats are seen as lucky, associated with prosperity and protection. Scottish law says that a strange black cat arriving at your home signals coming wealth. Sailors often preferred black ship cats, believing they brought safe voyages. The contradiction shows how cultural context shapes meaning. The cat itself does not change, the interpretation does. Across time and place, the same animal can be feared, revered, welcomed, or avoided, all because of the stories humans tell about color and chance. Despite the astonishing variety in size, coat, color, and temperament, all domestic cats belong to a single species, Felis catus. A tiny Singapura and a massive Maine Coon share the same species classification. This unity reflects a relatively recent domestication compared to other animals. Cats have not diverged into separate species the way canids have. Instead, all the diversity we see, the curled ears, folded ears, bobbed tails, and color variations, arose through selective breeding and natural mutation within the same species. This also means that domestic cats can interbreed freely with each other and, in some cases, with closely related wild species. The genetic foundation remains remarkably consistent. Every house cat carries the same basic blueprint, adjusted and reshaped by geography, human preference, and chance, but still fundamentally the same animal underneath. Calico and tortoiseshell cats, with their patchwork coats of orange, black, and sometimes white, are almost always female. This is because the genes for orange and black fur are located on the X chromosome. Females have two X chromosomes, so they can carry both the orange and the black gene. Early in development, each cell randomly inactivates one X chromosome, and the choice creates a mosaic. Some cells express orange, others express black, and the result is a patchwork pattern unique to that individual. Males typically have only one X chromosome and one Y, so they usually display either orange or black, not both. Male calico or tortoiseshell cats are extremely rare and usually result from a genetic abnormality, such as having an extra X chromosome. When you see a calico, you are seeing genetics made visible, a map of cellular decisions written in fur. The gene responsible for orange fur in cats is located on the X chromosome, which makes the inheritance of orange color sex-linked. Male cats need only one copy of the orange gene to be orange because they have one X and one Y chromosome. Females need two copies, one on each X chromosome, to be fully orange. This is why orange cats are more commonly male. When a female has one orange gene and one non-orange gene, she becomes a tortoiseshell or calico, displaying both colors in patches. The genetics create predictable patterns in litters. If you breed an orange male with a non-orange female, the male kittens will not be orange, but the female kittens will be tortoiseshell. Understanding this helps explain why certain color combinations appear more often in one sex than the other. White cats with blue eyes carry a higher risk of being born deaf, and the connection is genetic. The gene that produces the white coat can also affect the development of the inner ear, specifically the structures responsible for hearing. The result can be deafness in one or both ears. Not every white cat with blue eyes will be deaf, but the probability is significantly higher than in other cats. When the eyes are different colors, one blue and one another color, the deafness often affects the ear on the side with the blue eye. Deaf cats adapt remarkably well. They rely on vibrations, visual cues, and their other senses to navigate the world. Many form strong bonds with their humans, often becoming highly attentive and responsive to movement and body language. Deafness does not diminish their quality of life. It simply shifts how they experience the world. Polydactyl cats are born with extra toes, sometimes on the front paws, sometimes on all four. The word comes from Greek, meaning many digits. The trait is caused by a genetic mutation that is dominant, meaning if one parent carries it, there is a good chance the kittens will inherit it. The extra toes can vary in number and appearance, some functional, some not. Historically, polydactyl cats were common in port towns, especially in New England, because sailors believed they brought good luck and their wide paws provided better balance on ships. The writer Ernest Hemingway famously kept polydactyl cats, and descendants of his original cat still live at his home in Key West, Florida. The trait is harmless in most cases, though it does mean extra claws to monitor and trim. Many owners find the oversized paws endearing, like the cat is wearing mittens. Siamese cats are born nearly white, and over time, their ears, face, paws, and tail darken into rich shades of brown, chocolate, or blue. This coloring is not random. It is controlled by a temperature-sensitive enzyme involved in melanin production. The enzyme works more efficiently in cooler parts of the body, which is why the extremities, the points, are darker. Warmer areas, like the torso, remain lighter. Kittens are born pale because the womb is uniformly warm. As they grow and their extremities cool relative to their core, the color develops. Even the environment can play a role. Siamese cats living in colder climates may develop slightly darker overall coloring. The pattern is a living demonstration of how temperature and chemistry interact, a biological response written visibly in the fur, shifting and deepening as the cat matures. The distinctive folded ears of the Scottish Fold breed are the result of a genetic mutation affecting cartilage. Cartilage gives structure to the ears, but this mutation causes the cartilage to fold forward, creating the characteristic look. However, cartilage is not only in the ears, it also supports joints throughout the body. In some Scottish Folds, the same mutation increases the risk of painful joint problems and degenerative bone conditions as the cat ages, a condition called osteochondral dysplasia. Not every Scottish Fold develops severe symptoms, but the risk is significant enough that ethical breeding practices are a constant discussion. The breed highlights a difficult truth. Physical traits that appear charming or unique can carry hidden costs. Responsible ownership means monitoring movement, posture, and comfort closely, and understanding that appearance and welfare must be balanced carefully. A common misconception is that hairless cats are hypoallergenic. They are not. Most cat allergies are triggered not by fur itself, but by a protein called FeLD1, which is found in a cat's skin, saliva, and sebaceous glands. When a cat grooms, this protein spreads onto the fur, and as the fur sheds, the protein becomes airborne or settles on surfaces. Hairless cats, like the Sphinx, still produce this protein. They still groom. And because they lack fur to absorb the oils and proteins, those substances remain on the skin and transfer directly to anything the cat touches. Some people report fewer symptoms around hairless cats, possibly due to less shedding, but the allergen is still present. If someone is highly allergic, a hairless cat may not solve the problem. The key is understanding what causes the allergy, not assuming that less fur means less reaction. Maine Coons are gentle giants of the cat world. Males can weigh between 13 and 18 pounds, though some exceed 20 pounds. Their large, muscular bodies are built for endurance, with tufted ears, thick fur, and bushy tails that can wrap around them for warmth. Originally from the northeastern United States, they evolved in cold climates, and their coat is water-resistant and insulating. Despite their size, Maine Coons are known for their friendly, sociable nature. They often follow their humans from room to room and are playful well into adulthood. Their slow maturation means they keep kitten-like curiosity longer than many breeds, sometimes not reaching full size until 3 to 5 years old. When a Maine Coon stretches out, the length can be startling, but the temperament is often calm and affectionate, a large presence with a gentle heart. Bengal cats carry the legacy of the wild in their bloodlines. The breed was created by crossing domestic cats with the Asian leopard cat, a small wild species native to Asia. The goal was to capture the leopard cat's striking rosette coat pattern while maintaining a domestic temperament. Early generations were challenging, but through careful selective breeding, Bengals became companions with the look of the wild and the behavior of the domestic. Their coats often shimmer, a trait called glitter, and their energy levels tend to be high. Bengals thrive on interaction, climbing, and puzzle solving. They are not cats that enjoy being sedentary. Living with a Bengal can feel dynamic because they demand engagement. The breed is a reminder of how recent and intentional some cat appearances are, shaped by human fascination with wildness contained. The Manx cat is most famous for what it lacks: a tail. This taillessness is the result of a genetic mutation that affects the spine. Some Manx cats are completely tailless, called rumpies. Others have a small stub called rumpy risers or stumpies. A few have nearly full tails. The mutation is dominant, but when two completely tailless cats are bred together, the combination can be lethal to embryos, which is why responsible breeders avoid that pairing. The absence of a tail changes how a Manx moves and balances, but most adapt seamlessly. The breed originated on the Isle of Man, a small island where the mutation became concentrated due to the isolated population. Manx cats often have a rabbit-like hop when they run, a distinctive gait that comes from their strong hind legs and shortened spine. Heterochromia, the condition where a cat has two different colored eyes, occurs due to differences in melanin distribution during development. One eye may be blue while the other is green, gold, or amber. The variation is most commonly seen in white cats or cats with large areas of white fur, though it can appear in any coat color. The two eyes function normally. The difference is purely visual. For many people, heterochromia gives a cat an unforgettable, almost mystical appearance, as if each eye holds a different story. There is no behavioral difference tied to the trait. It is a quirk of pigmentation, a small deviation in how color was laid down during growth. Yet it captures attention, making the cat's face asymmetrical in a way that invites longer gazes and deeper curiosity. Abyssinian cats have a distinctive coat pattern called ticking, where each individual hair is banded with multiple colors. This gives the coat a warm, shimmering appearance without distinct stripes or spots. The look is strikingly similar to cats depicted in ancient Egyptian art, and for a long time it was believed the breed descended directly from those ancient cats. However, genetic research suggests the modern Abyssinian developed more recently, likely in Britain, though the exact origins remain debated. Regardless of ancestry, the resemblance is undeniable. Abyssinians carry an elegance and alertness that feels timeless. They are typically energetic, curious, and people-focused, preferring activity over lounging. Their appearance may evoke the past, but their behavior is lively and present, always exploring, always engaged, as if every moment holds something worth investigating. The Russian blues coat is one of its most defining features. It consists of an unusually dense double coat, where the guard hairs and undercoat are nearly the same length. This creates a plush, almost velvety texture that stands away from the body rather than lying flat. The coat also has a silvery sheen, giving the blue-grey color a subtle luminosity. This density likely evolved as protection against cold climates, providing insulation and resilience. Despite the thickness, the coat is relatively low maintenance and resists matting. Russian blues are often described as reserved but loyal, forming strong bonds with their chosen people while remaining cautious around strangers. They tend to prefer calm, predictable environments. When you stroke a Russian blue, the coat feels soft yet substantial, like touching a living cloud, a texture that makes the breed instantly recognizable even in the dark. Most cats avoid water, but the Turkish van is a notable exception. This breed is known for its fascination with water, often paddling in shallow pools, batting at running taps, or even swimming willingly. The behavior may be linked to the breed's origin in the Lake Van region of Turkey, where water was a part of the natural environment. Turkish vans have a semi-long, water-resistant coat that dries quickly, which makes getting wet less uncomfortable than it might be for other cats. The trait is not universal to every individual, but it is common enough to define the breed's reputation. Living with a water-loving cat can be surprising, turning sinks and bathtubs into potential play spaces. It challenges the assumption that all cats are water-averse and reminds us that environment and history shape behavior in ways that can completely overturn expectations. A cat's kidneys are remarkably efficient at conserving water. They produce urine that is far more concentrated than a human's, reclaiming as much moisture as possible before waste is excreted. This adaptation traces back to the cat's desert-dwelling ancestors, who lived in environments where water was scarce. In those conditions, every drop mattered, and the ability to extract maximum hydration from minimal intake was a survival advantage. This efficiency is why many cats drink less than you might expect, especially if they eat wet food. However, it also means that dehydration can become serious quickly, as the body is already operating on a tight margin. The concentrated urine is why a litter box can develop a strong odor and why hydration is such an important consideration in feline health. That powerful system is ancient, built for survival in harsh landscapes. A healthy cat runs warmer than a healthy human. Normal body temperature for a cat ranges from 100.5 to 102.5 degrees Fahrenheit, compared to the human average of 98.6. This slightly elevated baseline supports a metabolism geared toward short bursts of intense activity. When you hold a cat, especially a kitten, the warmth is noticeable, almost like holding a small furnace. That warmth is part of what makes a purring cat on your lap so soothing. The heat radiates through clothing and skin, a living source of comfort. If a cat's temperature drops significantly below this range, it signals hypothermia or shock. If it rises above, it can indicate fever or heat stroke. The narrow window reflects a finely tuned system, one where even small changes can signal that something is wrong. Cats are not just carnivores. They are obligate carnivores, meaning their bodies are built to derive nutrients almost exclusively from animal tissue. Unlike omnivores, cats cannot synthesize certain essential nutrients on their own. Taurine, for example, is an amino acid critical for heart and eye health, and cats can only obtain it from meat. Vitamin A must come from animal sources as well, since cats cannot convert beta-carotene from plants the way humans and dogs can. Their digestive systems are short and acidic, designed to break down protein and fat quickly. Carbohydrates, which many animals use for energy, play a minimal role in a cat's natural diet. This is why feeding a cat a vegetarian or vegan diet without careful supplementation can be dangerous. Their biology is specialized, shaped by evolution to hunt and consume prey, and that specialization is not optional. Taurine is an amino acid that cats cannot produce in sufficient amounts on their own. It must come from their diet, specifically from animal tissue. Without adequate taurine, serious health problems develop. The most common are dilated cardiomyopathy, a weakening of the heart muscle, and retinal degeneration, which can lead to blindness. These conditions can develop slowly, making them difficult to notice until significant damage has occurred. In the past, before the importance of taurine was understood, many commercial cat foods were deficient, leading to widespread illness. Today, reputable cat foods are supplemented with taurine to meet a cat's needs. This deficiency is a clear example of how specific a cat's dietary requirements are. They cannot thrive on a generic diet. Their bodies demand precise nutrients, and without them, even a well-fed cat can become seriously ill. Cats, especially those with white or light-colored fur, can suffer from sunburn just like humans. The ears and nose are particularly vulnerable because the fur is thinner there and the skin is more exposed. Prolonged sun exposure can cause redness, pain, and over time increase the risk of skin cancer, particularly squamous cell carcinoma. White cats or cats with pink skin are at highest risk. Indoor cats that lounge in sunny windows for hours can also be affected if the UV exposure is strong enough. Prevention is simple. Limit direct sun exposure during peak hours, provide shaded resting spots, and in extreme cases, apply pet-safe sunscreen to vulnerable areas. It is a reminder that a cat's body, while resilient in many ways, is still susceptible to environmental damage, and care includes protecting them from dangers they cannot perceive themselves. For cats, lilies are not just dangerous, they are potentially fatal. Even tiny exposures, a nibble of a leaf, a lick of pollen brushed onto fur, a sip of water from a vase, can trigger acute kidney failure. The toxicity is rapid and severe. Early signs may include lethargy, vomiting, or loss of appetite, but by the time symptoms are obvious, significant damage may already be underway. Immediate veterinary care is critical and can be life-saving, but prevention is the safest approach. Many cat owners choose to avoid lilies entirely, replacing them with non-toxic flowers. The danger is especially insidious because lilies are common in bouquets and arrangements, beautiful to humans, deadly to cats. It is a stark example of how human spaces can hide serious risks, where something decorative and harmless to us can be devastating to a companion who shares our home. A cat's liver processes substances differently from a human's or even a dog's. Certain metabolic pathways that help break down drugs in other species are limited or absent in cats. This means medications that are safe for humans, even common over-the-counter drugs like acetaminophen or ibuprofen, can be toxic or fatal to cats at very small doses. The risk is not about size, it is about chemistry. A cat's body cannot neutralize or eliminate these substances effectively, allowing toxins to build rapidly. This is why sharing human medication with a cat is never safe, even in emergencies, and why veterinary guidance is essential. The difference highlights how biologically distinct cats are. Living alongside us does not mean their bodies function like ours. Their systems evolved for a specific purpose, and respecting that difference is a fundamental part of keeping them safe. Dental disease is one of the most common health problems in cats, affecting more than 70% of cats by the time they reach 3 years old. It often begins with plaque buildup, which hardens into tartar and leads to inflamed gums, a condition called gingivitis. Left untreated, the infection can progress to periodontitis, causing pain, tooth loss, and bacteria entering the bloodstream, which can affect the heart, kidneys, and other organs. Cats are skilled at hiding discomfort, so dental problems often go unnoticed until they are advanced. Signs can include bad breath, drooling, reluctance to eat, or changes in grooming. Regular dental care, whether through brushing, dental treats, or professional cleanings, can make a significant difference. The mouth is not separate from the rest of the body. It is a gateway, and keeping it healthy supports overall well-being in ways that are not always immediately visible. As cats age, a small gland in the neck called the thyroid can begin producing too much hormone, a condition called hyperthyroidism. This hormonal imbalance speeds up the body's metabolism, often leading to weight loss despite an increased appetite. Affected cats may seem restless, more vocal, or unusually active, as if their internal engine is running too fast. Some become irritable, while others appear constantly hungry. The condition can also strain the heart and kidneys over time. Because the changes develop gradually, they are sometimes mistaken for normal aging. However, hyperthyroidism is manageable with veterinary care, through medication, diet, or in some cases, radioactive iodine treatment. What makes it notable is how dramatically it can alter a cat's personality and daily rhythm. Recognizing the pattern allows for intervention that can restore balance, helping the cat feel more like itself again. Cats have a powerful sense of smell, and they can detect subtle changes in a person's scent that may signal illness. Chemical changes in the body caused by infections, hormonal shifts, or metabolic disorders alter the compounds released through breath, sweat, and skin. A cat may notice these differences long before the person feels unwell. Some cats respond by becoming more attentive, staying close, or acting unusually protective. Others may withdraw, sensing something unfamiliar. There are anecdotal reports of cats persistently sniffing or pawing at areas later found to have tumors. Though scientific study in this area is still limited, what is clear is that a cat's nose provides information we cannot access ourselves. They are reading the body at a chemical level, picking up signals invisible to us, quietly aware of changes we have not yet noticed. In extreme situations, a cat's kidneys are capable of filtering salt water to extract usable hydration. This ability comes from the same highly efficient concentration system that allows them to survive on minimal water intake. However, this is not an ideal or sustainable solution. Filtering salt water places significant strain on the kidneys and is only effective in true emergencies, not as a regular source of hydration. The adaptation reflects the cat's desert ancestry, where any source of moisture might mean survival. It is a biological backup plan, a last resort built into a system already designed for scarcity. For a domestic cat, fresh water should always be available. The saltwater capability is impressive, but it is also a reminder of how extreme the conditions were that shaped the modern cat's body, a system built to endure what most animals could not. Cats need significantly more protein in their diet than dogs do relative to body size. This is because cats are obligate carnivores with metabolisms that constantly break down protein for energy, even when resting. While dogs can adapt to a more varied diet, cats rely on amino acids from meat to support everything from muscle maintenance to immune function. Without adequate protein, a cat's body begins to break down its own muscle tissue to meet basic needs. This is why high-quality cat food is protein-rich and why feeding dog food to a cat long-term can lead to malnutrition. The difference is not a preference, it is biology. Cats evolved as hunters, and their bodies are wired to expect and require a meat-based diet. Every meal should reflect that reality, supporting the specialized system that keeps them healthy and strong. Whiskers are incredibly sensitive, and when they are constantly brushing against objects, the stimulation can become overwhelming. This condition is sometimes called whisker fatigue, though it is more accurately sensory overload. It often happens during eating or drinking when a cat lowers its head into a deep, narrow bowl, and the whiskers repeatedly touch the sides. The discomfort can make a cat reluctant to eat, or it may eat only from the center of the bowl, leaving food around the edges. Switching to a shallow, wide dish often resolves the issue immediately, with no adjustment period needed. The behavior can look like pickiness from the outside, but it is a physical response. Whiskers are designed to gather information, not endure constant pressure. Respecting that sensitivity can transform mealtime from a source of stress into a calm, comfortable routine. A cat's eating experience is shaped by more than just the food itself. The bowl matters. Deep bowls can cause whisker fatigue as the sensitive whiskers repeatedly brush against the sides during eating. This can lead to discomfort and reluctance to eat. Shallow, wide bowls allow the cat to access food without that constant stimulation, making the experience more comfortable. Some cats also prefer bowls that are slightly elevated, reducing neck strain. Observing how a cat approaches its bowl can reveal preferences. Does it eat only from the center? Does it pause frequently or seem reluctant to lower its head fully? These small behaviors often point to simple solutions. Changing the bowl style can sometimes resolve what looks like picky eating, revealing that the issue was never the food but the way it was presented. Small adjustments in the environment can make a significant difference in a cat's comfort and willingness to eat. Outdoor cats are exposed to dangers that indoor cats avoid entirely. Traffic is one of the most immediate threats, causing injury or death with little warning. Encounters with other animals, whether predators, aggressive cats or dogs, can lead to fights, injuries, and the spread of disease. Parasites like fleas, ticks, and intestinal worms are common outdoors. Exposure to toxins, from poisoned rodents to antifreeze spills, poses serious risk. Disease transmission increases through contact with other cats, especially viruses like FIV and FELV. These dangers compound over time, which is why outdoor cats typically have shorter lifespans than indoor cats. The difference is not small. Indoor cats may live 15 to 20 years or more, while outdoor cats face much greater variability. Many owners choose compromises, supervised outdoor time, enclosed patios, or leash training to balance a cat's curiosity with safety. The goal is not confinement, it is protection. A cat's body is built for explosive power. From a standstill, a cat can leap up to 6 times its body length in a single jump. This ability comes from powerful hind leg muscles, a flexible spine that acts like a coiled spring, and fast-twitch muscle fibers designed for sudden bursts. When a cat prepares to jump, you can see the body compress, the haunches gathering, and then the release, smooth and effortless. This jumping ability serves multiple purposes in the wild. It allows cats to ambush prey from above, escape danger by reaching high ground, and navigate complex environments with ease. Even a domestic cat retains this athleticism. Watch one leap onto a refrigerator or the top of a door, and the physics become visible. A small body defying gravity with precision and grace. When a cat sprints, it can reach speeds of around 30 miles per hour. This speed is not built for endurance. It is built for short, decisive bursts. the kind needed to close the distance between a hiding spot and prey, or to escape sudden danger. The sprint is powered by fast twitch muscle fibers and a flexible spine that extends and compresses with each stride, adding length and momentum. Most domestic cats never have reason to run this fast, but the capability remains. During play, you might catch a glimpse of it, a sudden acceleration across the room, a blur of motion that seems almost too fast for the space. The speed is not just physical. It is a reminder of what lies beneath the calm exterior, an animal designed for moments when every fraction of a second matters. A cat's tail is more than decoration or communication. It is a functional tool that helps maintain balance during movement, especially when jumping or climbing. When a cat leaps, the tail moves to counterbalance the body, adjusting in mid-air to keep the cat stable. When walking along a narrow surface, like a fence or the back of a couch, the tail shifts subtly to compensate for weight distribution changes. The flexibility and length of the tail make it an effective counterweight, allowing precise adjustments without conscious thought. Cats with short or no tails, like the Manx, compensate with stronger hind legs and adjusted movement patterns, but for most cats, the tail is an essential part of the body's balance system. Watch a cat navigate a tricky jump and you will see the tail working, twisting and shifting, a quiet partner in every motion. A cat's ability to fit through surprisingly narrow openings comes from the structure of its skeleton, particularly the collarbone. Unlike in humans, a cat's collarbone is small and not rigidly connected to the rest of the skeleton. Instead, it is embedded in muscle, allowing the shoulders to move freely and compress. This means a cat can narrow its body significantly by adjusting shoulder position. If the head fits through an opening, the rest of the body can often follow, though this depends on the cat's overall body condition. An overweight cat may find that its head fits while the body does not, because fat on the chest and hips does not compress the way the skeletal frame does. For a healthy weight cat, that floating collarbone creates remarkable flexibility, turning the body into a shapeshifter, able to fold and flow through spaces that look impossible. Cats have strong short-term memory, especially for spatial information. If a toy rolls under the couch, a cat will often remember the exact spot and return to it later, even after being distracted. Studies show that cats can remember the location of hidden objects for several minutes, sometimes longer. This ability is rooted in their hunting behavior, where tracking prey requires remembering movement patterns and last known locations. In a home environment, this memory helps cats navigate confidently, even in the dark. They remember the layout of rooms, the placement of furniture, and where resources like food, water, and litter are located. This spatial awareness is part of what allows a cat to move so smoothly through a house without hesitation. It is not just instinct, it is memory, a mental map constantly updated and referenced. Training a cat is entirely possible, though it works best when it feels like a game rather than a command. Cats respond well to positive reinforcement, learning to associate actions with rewards like treats, play, or affection. They can be taught to sit, come when called, touch a target, ring a bell, or even navigate agility courses. The key is keeping sessions short and rewarding success immediately, so the cat makes a clear connection between behavior and outcome. Cats are less motivated by obedience than dogs are, but they are highly motivated by curiosity and problem solving. Training can also reduce stress by making potentially frightening experiences, like entering a carrier or accepting grooming, predictable and positive. The process strengthens the bond between cat and human, creating a shared language built on trust, clarity, and mutual success. Research has shown that cats can distinguish their own names from other words, even when spoken by strangers. In studies, cats showed greater response, such as ear movement, head turning, or vocalization, when their name was called compared to when other similar-sounding words were used. This does not always mean they will come when called. Recognition and obedience are different things. A cat may know its name perfectly well, but choose not to respond based on context, mood, or whether it sees any benefit in doing so. The ability to learn and recognize names shows cognitive flexibility and social awareness. Cats are paying attention, processing language patterns, and building associations, even when they appear indifferent. Their silence is not confusion, it is choice. Like humans, many cats show a preference for one paw over the other. This is sometimes called pawedness, similar to handedness. If you watch a cat during play or exploration, you may notice one paw consistently reaches first, bats at toys more often, or tests new objects. Studies suggest that paw preference can vary by sex, with some research indicating that male cats tend to favor their left paw while females favor their right, though individual variation is high. The preference hints at brain lateralization, where one hemisphere is slightly more dominant for certain motor tasks. Not every cat shows a strong preference, but for those that do, it is remarkably consistent over time. It is a small detail, but one that makes each cat feel even more like an individual with personal habits and a distinct style of interacting with the world. A cat's sense of direction is built on layers of memory and scent. As they move through an area, cats collect information from smells on the ground, in the air, and on objects they pass. These scents form an invisible map, reinforced by repeated routes and familiar textures. Alongside scent, cats remember spatial relationships, how rooms connect, where cover exists, and which paths feel safe. This combination allows many cats to return home from unfamiliar places, sometimes across surprising distances. The journey is not a straight line. It is a process of checking, adjusting, and recognizing patterns that feel right. Even indoors, this system is at work. Cats navigate confidently in low light, find favorite hiding spots, and move through furniture without hesitation. The world to a cat is not just seen, it is remembered through smell, motion, and quiet repetition, a map built in the mind, one step at a time. Cats, like many animals, sometimes react to earthquakes before humans feel them. The behavior often attributed to prediction is more likely sensitivity to the earliest seismic waves, called P waves, which travel faster than the S waves that humans typically feel. P waves can arrive seconds before the main shaking, and animals with acute senses may detect these subtle vibrations, changes in air pressure, or even shifts in the electromagnetic field. Cats may become restless, hide, or vocalize before the shaking becomes obvious to humans. However, the idea that animals can predict earthquakes minutes or hours in advance is not scientifically supported. The reaction is more about detecting what is already happening at a level humans cannot perceive. It is not precognition, it is sensitivity, a reminder of how much sensory information exists just beyond the reach of human awareness. The rusty-spotted cat, native to India and Sri Lanka, holds the title of the world's smallest wild cat species. Adults typically weigh between 2 and 3 pounds, smaller than many domestic cats. Despite their size, they are skilled hunters, preying on rodents, birds, and insects in dense forests and grasslands. Their small size is an advantage, allowing them to navigate tight spaces and avoid larger predators. Rusty-spotted cats are nocturnal and solitary, living lives largely hidden from human view. Watching footage of them hunting is a reminder that size and ferocity are not directly related. These tiny cats move with the same focus, patience, and precision as much larger predators. Their existence challenges assumptions about what a wild cat must look like, proving that some of the wildest lives belong to the smallest bodies. Despite the dramatic difference in size and appearance, domestic cats share an astonishing 95.6% of their DNA with tigers. This genetic similarity reflects a relatively recent shared ancestor in evolutionary terms. Both belong to the family Felidae, and the fundamental blueprint, the structure of muscles, bones, senses, and instincts, remains remarkably consistent across the family. A house cat stalking a toy and a tiger stalking prey follow the same behavioral sequence. Both have retractable claws, specialized teeth, and flexible spines. Both rely on patience, stealth, and explosive power. The size difference is profound, but the design is the same. When you watch your cat move, you are watching a miniature version of one of the world's apex predators. The software is nearly identical, only the scale has changed. The ability to roar is often seen as a defining trait of big cats, but not all large cats possess it. Lions, tigers, leopards, and jaguars can roar due to a specialized structure in the larynx that allows deep, resonant vocalizations. However, snow leopards, clouded leopards, and cheetahs cannot roar. Instead, they produce other vocalizations like chirps, hisses, and purrs. Snow leopards, despite their size and strength, are more closely related to smaller cats in terms of vocal anatomy. Cheetahs, built for speed rather than raw power, also lack the roaring apparatus. This difference is not about size or strength, it is about evolutionary paths and anatomical specialization. The cats that cannot roar have adapted other ways to communicate, proving that there is more than one way to be a successful predator. In regions where domestic cats and wild cats share territory, interbreeding can occur. The offspring may look and act like wild cats but carry domestic genes, and over time, this genetic mixing can dilute the pure wildcat population. For conservationists, this creates a challenge. How do you protect a species when its genetic boundaries are blurring? Identifying true wildcats becomes difficult, and the unique traits that evolved for specific landscapes can be lost. The problem is not malice, it is proximity. As human development expands, the edges of wild and domestic life overlap more frequently. Roads, farms, and villages bring cats into contact, and nature does not recognize our categories. Conservation efforts often focus on habitat protection, managing feral cat populations responsibly, and sometimes even genetic testing to identify and preserve pure wildcat lineages. It is a quiet, complex issue, one where a house cat becomes part of a much larger ecological story. For more than 10,000 years, cats have walked beside us. They chose to stay close when humans began storing grain, drawn by the rodents that gathered, and over generations, the relationship deepened. From the granaries of the Fertile Crescent to the ships crossing oceans, from the temples of ancient Egypt to the living rooms of the modern world, cats have remained. They have been workers, symbols, companions, and mysteries. They have adapted to nearly every environment humans inhabit, yet they have never fully surrendered their independence. That balance, wildness and familiarity, distance and closeness, is what makes them so compelling. After 10,000 years, they are still choosing to be here, still negotiating the terms, still moving through our lives with quiet confidence. The partnership is ancient, but it is also ongoing, written in every purr, every slow blink, every soft footstep in the night. And so we reach the end of our journey through 100 quiet facts about cats. We have wandered through biology, history, behavior, and mystery, finding wonder in whiskers, meaning in slow blinks, and stories written in fur and bone. Cats live in the space between wild and tame, carrying ancient instincts into modern homes, reminding us that companionship does not require surrender. If your eyes are heavy now, that is exactly right. Let your body settle. Let your thoughts drift like a cat moving through twilight, soft and unhurried. If this exploration brought you peace, you are always welcome to return. And if you found value here, a like or subscription helps others find their way to these gentle spaces too. But there is nothing you must do. The night is here, the facts have been told, and now there is only rest. Sleep well. Good night.